Let's talk about Balls, or is it pronounced Ball-Z? You know what I mean, Balls, the spherically focused fighting game with a testicular title from 1994. Or maybe you don't know what I mean, it's not exactly the most widely remembered property despite its chuckle-worthy name. Nonetheless, it's pertinent to the topic at hand because this was the first time developer PF Magic revealed their balls to the world. Each fighter was built using 2D spheres that mimicked 3D through a clever combination of scaling, rotating, and animation. The game itself only received a lukewarm reception, but the tech was fast and versatile, which was notable at a time before mainstream 3D rendering hardware. But how did this lead to making virtual pets? Amusingly enough, you have to look to Night Trap for that. Rob Fulop, a designer at PF Magic, had worked on Night Trap and was really irked by the negative media coverage the game was getting in regards to it ruining children and such. On retrospect, he said, "The next game I made was going to be so cute and so adorable, what's the cutest thing I could make?" The answer came to him after talking to a mall Santa Claus that Christmas, because who would know better what kids want than jolly old Saint Nick? Santa replied, "The most popular thing that kids ask for every year is a puppy, for the last 50 years. Combine that knowledge with the existing tech they had from the game Balls, and a winning idea was born. Thanks, Santa. That brings us to the 1995 computer game Dogs, providing puppies for the kids by expanding on the graphics of Balls and continuing PF Magic's tradition of avoiding S-based plurals. Your virtual pets, it says in the box. That's right, this is the first in what would become a long line of titles in the Pets series, eventually becoming the property of Ubisoft, who then made 14,000 games for the Nintendo DS and such. But back in 1995, Dogs was a trendsetter, being what PF Magic described as
the first computer pet ever. They live on your desktop, adopt them as a little puppy, and then you grow them up to be a full-grown dog. You play with them their entire life.
Its combination of cute pets, novel interactivity, and an asking price of $20 proved irresistible, and in the days before Tamagotchi was even a thing, the Pets series was a huge hit, selling 1.5 million units in less than 3 years. With the success of Dogs, the logical follow-up came in 1996 with Cats, altering the software in feline ways, while also taking the opportunity to partner with animal shelters to promote pet adoption.
The San Francisco SPCA wants to save every cat. PF Magic wants a home for all of its digital cats. It's a win-win situation.
PF Magic had a good thing going with pets, but what was next? Oddballs, of course, another title from 1996, but one that harkened back to their ballsier roots. It was still a virtual pet sim, but instead of domesticated mammals, you had weird alien creatures and sci-fi machinery to play with, and it is just as enjoyably quirky as it sounds. This original trio of Pets programs is what we'll be looking at today, but let's start with Dogs and Cats first. These particular programs begin with a menu that lets you play with and adopt one of 5 puppies or kittens, each of which has a unique set of traits that affect how they'll respond to your commands. Some will be naturally playful or hyper, others are curious or skittish, but for the most part you're just choosing whichever one strikes you as the cutest. Or you can take a pup quiz and let the game decide for you because you're actually that predictable. Choose your pet, give them a name, and from here you're given free rein to play. And what does that entail, you may ask? Well, unlike many later virtual pet experiences, Dogs and Cats are more like activity centers or desktop buddy programs rather than fully fledged games or simulations. While they can be fed, watered, trained, groomed, and played with, none of this is 100% vital to their survival. In fact, don't worry about survival at all since pets can't die, even when they grow old. Instead, your desktop is a totally safe play area for your animated dog or cat, and they can't be harmed in any way. Well, unless you count painting them stupid colors, that's arguably harmful, but yeah, you can ignore pets for ages and they'll still be just as alive and happy whenever you return. This is in stark contrast to later games like Tamagotchi, where it was infamously easy to have your pet die. In fact, with the popularity of Tamagotchi in 1997, PF Magic started polling their players on the topic of death, asking the question, should virtual pets die? The results were overwhelmingly against mortality in pets, with an adorable set of responses. Said Shelley O, "I'm 10 years old. I don't think oddballs, dogs, or cats should die, although some people do need a touch of reality." Says Gianna B, "No, don't kill my puppy." And says the wise W Melville, "I don't know." The entire page is worth reading. I'll leave a link in the video description. But yeah, no one's being sent to the farm here, so just click around at your leisure and have some wholesome fun with your virtual friend. A friend that's made up largely of spherical sprites, by the way, the same kind of method used in PF Magic's ill-fated balls. I think it's used to greater effect here though, presenting more as solid creatures than loosely connected orbs. Anyway, your mouse cursor acts as your hand, letting you pet them, pick them up, call them, and interact with any on-screen items. Pets are constantly aware of your mouse hand too, reacting to it even when you're not clicking on anything, providing a sense of awareness to your pets that's adorably convincing. Additionally, you have an array of toys and treats to choose from, each of which can be clicked and dragged into the play area. Dogs have things like shoes to chew, balls to play fetch with, and bones to gobble up, and cats have even more, including catnip, yarn, brushes, bouncy toys, and cheese to entice mice. Your pets can also be gently scolded using a spray bottle, or given food, water, and treats to improve their mood and encourage certain behavior. For instance, if they do a trick, give them a treat, and their AI will learn from that and seek to do more tricks. It's also possible to play with your pets on top of other applications, even if this really just freezes the background program to use as a static wallpaper. You can also let your pets play around in a smaller window while you do something else, although it's the reverse issue here where you can't interact with them until you switch back to the program. You can also use pets as a password-protected screensaver to guard your computer with cuteness. It's non-interactive, of course, but it's a nice little addition for the mid-90s when more people still cared about unique screensavers. And finally, you can also snap a photo and save it as a small bitmap file, which you were then encouraged to share on the PF Magic website. This sharing of content was pushed even further through the Dogs and Cats Adoption Kit, which is really just a demo version. The idea here is that you share the program on floppy disks or just spread copies online, with the goal being that players would get attached to the pet they adopted and feel compelled to pony up the $20 to activate it with PF Magic. This was actually pretty devious because if you refused to pay, the program would say how heartbroken the dogs would be that you didn't love them and were abandoning them, followed by sad sound effects. Jeez, talk about a hard sell. And then we come to Oddballs, which is probably the weirdest entry in the series. Well, at least until Babies came along some years later, but that's another topic entirely. Anyway, Oddballs is understandably an odd one where instead of adopting puppies and kittens, you're hatching trippy creatures from multicolored eggs. Each one of them is thoroughly unique, with appendages, proboscises, and body shapes that run the gamut from endearing to unsettling. Then you're provided an assortment of fantastical resources to play with, some of which result in the cataclysmic destruction of your oddball. Well, temporary destruction, it's all played up for laughs. You've got items for shrinking, pulverizing, gravity altering, dancing, and just going off the rails with lighthearted fun. My favorite has to be the Transformer Ray, which completely alters their physical form and gives them an entirely new existence for a bit. It also sometimes blows them up, and if their eyeballs fall out, just plop them back into place like nothing happened. Oddballs also introduced a collecting mechanic to the series, where you'd accrue more monsters by going online and registering to download more. For free! Imagine that! What a neat little thing this was. It's still the same basic idea as Dogs and Cats, but Oddballs went nuts with the creatures and takes the idea of a pet sim to a silly extreme that I enjoy. And seeing as digital monster collecting was about to become huge due to Pokemon and the like, I'm surprised they didn't capitalize on it with an Oddballs sequel. But I'm glad we got what we did, and it's still enjoyable to go back to some of the earliest virtual pet titles like this. Sure, the Pets series got sequelized and cloned to death in later years, so it may not seem particularly special now, but I hope that, like me, you at least enjoyed revisiting one of the most noteworthy starting points of the virtual pet trend and its bouncy globular roots. And hey, let me know in the comments some of your experience with the Pets series or virtual pet games in general. I find subjects like this pretty darn fascinating, and if you do as well, then you might like some of my other videos. There are new ones every Monday and Friday here on LGR. And as always, thank you very much for watching.